welcome back to another episode of Buffalo Happy Hour. Mike, what's going on?
What's up, team? So we are back for another fun-filled interview. We're excited to have you back, man.
Hey,
for those that missed round one, you want to introduce yourself to everyone who's going to listen to round two?
The Sink Blender, bro.
I'm Angelo. That's my real name, but you can call me Edalo. Obviously, Angelo Edalo Marinelli is my real name, so I like to go by my middle name. Like I said, thanks so much for having me. It's really just a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, for sure. Do you remember our first conversation when you were talking about the Sink Blender?
Honestly,
disposal?
yeah, the garbage disposal,
I was listening to it earlier today. I'm like, this is awesome.
Dude, I think that's the best part about video podcasts, and why I was so excited to come back on yours specifically, because, there's a lot of podcasts out there, but I think you guys do a great job with not only your vision, but execution as well. It was really good.
Thanks,
you,
man.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we talked about over a year ago at this point, I think, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you kind of blew up, and I think it's because of us, for sure.
Oh, 100%.
But, like, at that time, a year ago, what were you doing a year ago? And kind of talk us through what's been going on recently with you.
Well, my main thought was I have to work with some hella great people. I got to really put myself out there. I know a couple doors will slam in my face, but, I was ready for it. Obviously running the Hurdle Sound Lab is my main bread and butter, and I love working together with artists. Mm-hmm. So it just was about expanding personally as well as, business-wise as well.
Yeah. So can you talk about the Hurdle Sound Lab? And actually, we said your name, but what you do. Like, what is Edalo known for? Tough question, but
that is a tough question
because you're so humble. You're an artist.
Thanks, man.
You really, really are, and you are one of the most humble people I've ever met in my life. We go back years, and every single time I see you, you're like, dude, I'm just me, and it's awesome, and that's why I love you so much because you're just like such a humble dude. But you have to talk about it because you are a very successful artist at this point.
Thank you, man. Well, I run the Hurdle Sound Lab. I am a composer, producer, songwriter. I love helping out people. I love being of service musically to people, whether it's, recording or mixing and mastering or, providing instrumentals. Playlisting is what I actually just started doing for clients. So, you can reach out to me, and I have a database of 500 different Spotify curators. So, I'll spend 15 hours a day on my phone sending out submissions to curators that will send me back approvals for my clients, myself. And I realized that Spotify playlisting is the best way to hit organic streaming as well as promoting yourself, because there's a lot of phony type services in the industry. And as an artist, you got to be very careful on what you do and what you spend your money on. So I just try and guide people. I've been doing music for 10 years. I figured I would go under my middle name because it was actually the name that I was supposed to be named when I was a kid. And my mom was like, absolutely not. That's not going to be your name. And it's actually my grandfather's name as well. So I kind of use it as tribute back to my grandfather that I didn't know. And I think it is definitely, kind of how I run my project is kind of, more of what meets the eye, being able to kind of fill the gaps. And, man, I just appreciate the, kind words and
good vibes.
Having me here, like I said. So,
yeah, I mean, you just talked on how there's a lot of kind of fake people out in the industry, people that try to help other clients that just don't have their best interest in mind. Right. So how do you try to navigate that and say, I'm not like that? How do you get people to trust you? It's got to be such a hard thing in the industry.
Yeah, not only trust, but how do you filter?
Well, that's actually two different questions. So, I guess the way that I filter them out is you have to kind of ask very specific questions. like, how long do you want to run this for? You know, you kind of tell them your process. A lot of my clients or my business are just referrals, you know? So it's like it literally will trickle down of like groups. And then I'll have worked with one or two people, and that'll be, go to Angelo. Like I always like to go above and beyond for people, you know? So whether that be like giving them an extra week and a half, which is pretty much just like 5 to 10 approved playlists with their song in it. So I'll always try and like give a little bit extra, you know, as far as my sessions go, and, you know, giving away the music. You know, I always make sure that, you know, it's high quality and that people are really like psyched. You know, I've clearly had some bad sessions where people like, I'm going to send people to the sound lab, and I'm like, bring them. Like,
yeah, right.
Bring them down. Like, I've got nothing to hide, you know.
Yeah, I'm Italian.
Yeah, like, it's not even that. Like, you know, I've got nothing to hide, man.
Right,
You know, I put my music out there. I put my life out there. Like, you know, when I post on Instagram, that's me. Like, I don't bullshit when it comes to, you know, music. You know, I keep it very, you know, if you don't like me, that's like your own problem.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that's fine. Like, so I just try and, I just really try and help people.
So mostly by referrals, it's been lately?
It's mainly been referrals and Instagram.
Yeah.
Instagram is pretty much popping off after the verification.
Well, that's what I'm going to look up right now because, how many followers do you have right now?
I mean, followers don't matter. Dude.
They don't.
And verification doesn't matter. I don't even know what verification is. Like, what is the blue check mark? Like, what?
Nothing.
You know, like.
But unfortunately, in our world, for people that are collaborating, it does kind of matter.
Well, I would say if you're pitching yourself, you know, and you're trying to play shows and you're trying to tour and really work together with people, you can work together with other blue check marks.
Right.
I mean, what does that mean? You can still work together with people if you're not on a blue check mark. It's just a process of finding and filtering out the ones that you want to work with.
I just find it funny because you got a blue check mark and we're all friends.
Yeah.
And we have like 4 followers.
It really, well, you guys kill it.
Yeah, we're
as
not checkmarked, and he worked with us. So,
but you guys are checkmarked on YouTube, I'm pretty sure. And your YouTube subscribers have been rising like crazy, honestly. So I keep up on that for sure, and I really appreciate you inquiring me for some of the podcast music that you used.
Yeah.
Because I just loved kind of making those tunes for you guys, and
that was a blast.
That was so much fun.
Seeing the final product of that really is why I do a lot of this music.
Speaking on that was so Derek is like, we have to do this, and I was like, okay, like what? Like I have no opinion. Like obviously he knows what he's doing. Like rock and roll. Like let's do it. So we got the first. You basically sent like drafts.
Yeah.
And you're like, what do you guys think? And then you were like, listen to these when you drive. It's probably going to sound better in the car. And I'm like, everything sounds better in the car. So like,
it does, though.
Absolutely. Well, so I was driving to the grocery store, and I'm listening to, there was 4 total. 2 on the way there, 2 on the way back. And it was like the second or third one that was like our favorite.
Yeah.
And I blasted them, and I'm sitting there, and I didn't realize... You were talking about vision. You were talking about your vision as like a composer,
right.
And it oddly came through the music. And I'm like, oh, this is his vibe. Like this is the way he makes music. This is what he's into, and you can you understand that. But it was interesting because I met you before hearing your music. You knew what his music sounded like, and I had no clue. So from a complete stranger and outsider, I'm like, he would make this. Like that actually fits. That makes sense.
Thank you.
And it was. I mean, they were all bangers, and I'm just like, well, how the hell do we pick one when we're given 4? And I felt like every woman's comment was coming to fruition of men can't make a decision. I'm like, they're not wrong, because I kind of want to use elements from all 4 of these. Like, is that even a thing? And then it got even weirder because you're like, yeah, dude, we can do that. Like, I could take this, and this. I'm like, oh, no, don't go down the rabbit hole. You're like, yeah, because that's going to add like 34 more hours. And I'm like, it's going to sound sick, though. It was a really cool experience.
Thank you.
It was really neat.
Thank you. That's probably best case scenario. You know, like that's what I work so hard for. Why I spend so many hours like behind the scenes, and why I stay up so late. why I love doing what I do, honestly. You know, a lot of people take a lot of different routes in music. They, you know, they want to be the lead singer. They want to play the shows. They want to be the composer. They want to be in the back. You know, it's finding that balance between running a business and being able to have a job off of something you love and being able to work and provide that type of service for everybody. You know what I mean? So like being able to do that for you guys and was like an situation because I was like, I know these guys, I know what these guys are about, and it's really about picking up on people's personalities because I can create songs based on personality, right? Like if you're a pretty hard tattooed, I have no tattoos, by the way. Like I probably will never get any. I'll keep it that way. But yeah, if you're, you know, really rugged, I can pretty much pick up on what kind of feel you're going for. If you're like really nerdy or if you're like, you know, so I kind of, that's what I feel is like, you know, what I'm really tapped into.
Sure.
You know, just being able to, you know, like know Derek and be like, oh, like these are what genres Derek likes.
Right.
You know, and just
jazz with a side of sauce.
yeah,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, whiskey with a side of whiskey.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? So it's just about knowing and being able to feel it out and being honest with yourself and whoever you're creating for or with and being like, hey, because there's been a lot of times where I've led people in the direction that they're at, and of course I'm not looking for credit on it, you know. But a lot of people that'll come to the Sound Lab, I'll guide them, and then I'll tell them advice, and I'll be like, this is what you should do, and then a year later I see that they're doing that,
Sure.
and like we don't talk anymore. But like I'm just glad to see that they took my advice and that they're now off doing what I suggested that they should do. So
Yeah,
it's
got to be sick.
yeah, so it's cool to like not get credit for the things that I suggest or like, you know, because I make a shit ton of music too, and a lot of it sometimes people, you know, and I take pictures and people will use those pictures, and I'll never get the credit for it. And I think for me it's just the love of continuing just the job of my art, right?
Right.
So like even if I don't get credit for it, I still fucking, you know, will feel frustrated, you know, but like at the end of the day, I'm just glad to still continue doing my job.
Yeah. When you're creating something, and specifically when it comes to collaborations with people, do you have this vision in your mind and you're like, I need another vocal on here, or is it you working with them to create the song from scratch?
It really depends because every project needs different things. You know, like if you're like a singer and you need like a full band, you know, then you probably need to get 5 or 6 guys behind you. You know, if you're trying to be like a solo artist, you know, you can come in with instrumentals. You know, music is such a loose end thing, like, but being able to kind of like hone in on like what you want your path to be and like what you want your goals to be, you can kind of, I don't want to say it, but it's kind of like dead end in the way that it's really a money game, you know, so you can pay for everything. You can pay for marketing. You can pay for collaborations, you know, so I feel like it's really about being able to save your money and get your product done in the best and most vulnerable way for you to create your message, you know? So like a lot of people will be out there like spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on EPs and albums and millions of dollars on studio time, and Beyonce's putting like 25 producers on one song to all split the cash, and that's smart. Like it's a money game. But a lot for me, you know, I'm still in Buffalo. I run a studio out of Buffalo. I tour out of Buffalo. Everybody asks me, why aren't you playing in Buffalo? Like, you know, I haven't played in Buffalo in 4 or 5 years. And I will this new album release. But I do that for a reason, you know, because I want to make it special, and you have to do things with strategy is kind of my point, because if you don't, yeah.
You said you've been doing this for about 10 years. At least professionally. I'm sure you were dabbling well before 10 years ago. So this dude recently got married. And
Congratulations, by
Thank
the
you,
way,
sir.
Derek.
Appreciate
Yeah,
you.
I'm gonna pour
You're
up another
savage.
one.
Hell
just-
yeah,
just
love that.
because.
for the boy.
Yeah, literally.
Do you want more ice? Are you good?
Oh no, that's perfect.
yeah.
Thanks so much.
So his DJ is our friend, and I was able to transition from one song to the next
Ooh.
at the wedding. And we've said it, I don't know, over 160 times because we've done a ton of interviews. No, not a flex. Like, I'm just saying we always say it. We're naturally curious. So when I went through that process and that journey of transitioning from one song to the next, it's not a big deal, right? Especially coming from what you do every day. So I'm behind the scenes, and I got the one headphone on, one
I
off,
love
because
it.
I
I
know
love
that's what you're supposed to do.
To be honest, that's the best way to record vocals because you can hear what you're doing live as well as what's coming through the headphones. And honestly, yeah, best mix technique.
So I've seen a lot of raves and EDM shows, and I know that that's what they do. And I'm like, this is just a look.
Oh, they don't even spin with mixers, dude.
Yeah, it's weird now.
I'm just kidding.
So I'm doing the thing, and then the actual DJ is like, okay, like move this way, and then it'll transition from one song to the next on the mixer, and I'm like, this is
So
fascinating.
he's quickly throwing in.
Yeah, and he's like showing me what to do. He's coaching me up, and then it clicked where I'm like, this is addicting, and I didn't think it would be that addicting, and I'm like, this is a problem, but it totally makes sense why someone would want to spend 15 hours in a studio. When you first started, did you dabble in all of that where you're just trying to, like, you had an odd sound in your head and you're like, I want to get this onto something and then see how I can manipulate it and then develop my own beat and or like 30-second thing?
So if you're like just mixing, that's so different than picking out sounds specifically and like playing the producer composer route, right? Like just mixing your like tunes like a wedding DJ is almost, a completely different job in its entirety than being a composer and like writing the sheet music and fitting this correct sounds. But I could see how, for me, like the songs that I spin in my shows, I actually like create and stuff. So it's like the catch-22. But it is addicting because of, when you are like, I'm not much of a DJ, like I don't do weddings. I actually got reached out a bunch of times like, hey, would you like to do my wedding? And I was like, maybe for like $1,000, because I'd have to bring my, gear and all this. But I ended up turning down literally every single wedding opportunity that I got. So I think that's the one difference between me is that I won't do your wedding. But I can see where, people who, are DJs and are, spin at the Rec Room and even your cousin, Al, like he's an awesome DJ. We've, played a show way back in the day.
That's how I met you.
Yeah. And it's cool to play the shows and throw DJ sets. And but I think that's the one thing for me that I, kind of sets me apart is that, like, being the composer and producer and having the sound lab. Like, I have people that will struggle for, like, literally 5-6 years, and they'll be like, oh, my God, like, this is the sound I was looking for, and I'll find it in 20 minutes. So, so it's
because your experience is doing it.
Well, they just won't have the proper resources to find the sound. So like they'll sit down with me, and within that certain time, they'll be like, I'll literally just give them my keyboard and I'll show them how to program the sounds, and I'll just be like, all right, well, is this what you're looking for? And they'll freak out and be like, oh my God, like I'll teach them how to like find their signature sound, because finding your signature sound is like what makes DJing so fun. If you find your signature sound, create a bunch of material off of your signature sound, then go and DJ it, man.
That's what I'm trying to bridge the gap between, because there's artists that are like the Tiestos or like super big
and those guys,
dudes,
they make their music. They are the composers of their own stuff that they DJ. The Skrillex, like Calvin Harris.
Yeah,
those are the DJ producers.
That's insane to me, because you're essentially you're finding sound, and they're also creating sound and then mixing it to manipulate that sound. So what is that like? I mean, that's got to be, because it's a whole separate creative space that you're in.
That's what makes, I think, music so fun, because you can take the stems and parts and sounds. Like, still have the sounds that I've made, like, back when I was, like, 15, 16 years old, and I've been able to save them on hard drives and just rework them, because you can, if you have everything, you can just, change the key. If you have the MIDI file, you can actually go in and change it all around.
Yeah.
And I think it's just about knowing how you want to, like, paint your puzzle and, like, how you want it to look, and then, like, putting it together on top of it as well.
So for the audience that knows nothing about you're literally creating sound. Like, that's your whole...
You're literally taking...
That's what you do in the industry.
Yeah, I make music. I own my Hurdle Sound Lab. Can
you imagine making sound?
No, like, you talked about signature sound. What is your signature sound? Do you have one?
Yeah,
there's a trombone thrown in somewhere.
it's definitely live electronic.
Okay.
Everything that I make is electronic based, but at the end of the day, you'll see me kind of switch from keys to singing on my tunes to playing drums. I just like to... When I was a kid, I used to play the Beatles all the time. My dad used to be on bass, and I learned how to kind of just listen to something and just play the beat of it, and just within 20 times of listening to the song, jumping on a drum kit and just playing it. Like, I can play any Beatles song for you, like on drums. Like, I just have it memorized. Not that I'm ever going to use it, or if I ever want to make, like, a Beatles tribute band, I probably could, but I probably won't.
When did you find that was your sound, though? Did that happen recently, or was it always like that?
I think it's grown a lot over the years. Being able to kind of use all your strengths, and then kind of figuring out, hey, like, I want to show everybody kind of what I can do all at once. It's kind of like a multitask type of show, and I think there's a lot of really good creative artists out there that are, younger, and Big Gigantic is really cool. Even Grizz, like those DJ, live electronic bands. There's not many, there's Space Junk in Buffalo. There are those, like, Grub. Aqueous isn't really electronic, but they still rock hard as far as, like, jam bands. And there's a fine line between, I think, jam bands and live electronic music. And if you go into the Colorado area, and you go more on the West Coast, you'll see more raves and concerts that are, the DJ live band type shows. And I just felt, for me, it was the perfect avenue and most comfortable for me to not only showcase my work, but, it's hard enough playing shows.
Yeah, sure.
Like,
I feel like it's tough, though, because just like you were saying, you help people find their sound. And that's got to be, being an artist and trying to find your sound has to be a very... either super easy process or extremely difficult process. There's really no in between. Like, when you get somebody that comes in and is like, I don't know, man, I've tried literally everything. I can't figure this out. Can you help me? Like, what is that like? Because it's not like, what music do you like to listen to? It can't be that easy.
No, it's not.
I mean, he's also dealing with really creative, artistic people. We're not creative,
well,
bro.
Even there, he said that it's tough to find. Even creative people struggle.
The easiest situation really is when they have already the instrumental that they're bringing in. You know what I mean? So, like, they'll already come in, they'll just know what they want, and they'll come and record the vocals, and I'll melodyne or, make sure that the vocals are all tuned up and corrected, and that's probably the easiest scenario. But, I think it's, for me, more fun when you have someone that really doesn't know, because I just take the musical standpoint where, like, I'll throw a piano in front of them and I'll be like, okay, what sounds do you like? You know, do you like this bird sound? Do you like this pad sound? Do you like this synth sound? Do you like this drum beat? Do you like this synth snare? Do you like this hi-hat sound? Do you want 18th notes? Do you want, you know what I mean? So it's like you gotta, a lot of people will come to me for projects, and I'll kind of have to like ask who owns the copyright to their music. You know, I'll have to figure out different, you know, you can't go from like step 1 to like step 1,000, you know, like there are certain things that I think require a certain amount of patience.
Yeah.
And I think music is one of those things that you can play music for 10 years and not have a blue check mark and not have fans and just play on the side of the street, you know, and it's all on how you make it and how you mold it. And I think for me, that's the most fun. And what I have, I guess, success in is just being able to bring that to light, you know, because I feel like a lot of musicians, they're, you know, on to the next gig. They're a gigger. They're just playing, I played like 300 shows this year. Like, that's awesome. Like, you know, that's your route. You know, I think it's, you know, music is such an open-ended thing that if you don't have a plan to like tie it up, it's never going to be tied.
Yeah.
You know,
it's super interesting that you talked about the fact that you would rather have somebody come in and not really know so you can kind of guide them.
Well, it's
because
fun.
I mean, I talked with my tattoo artist a lot, and my cousin, who's the designer, Tom Kavanaugh, Design of Sarcasm, go hit him up.
Hey.
But they both talk about the fact that they don't like it when somebody comes in and says, this is my design, copy it. Because then they're like, where's the creative freedom in that? This is not fun for me. So it's cool to hear you from the music side say the exact same thing. Like, I don't want somebody to come in and say, just master this for me. It's like, that's kind of dumb.
That's the bread and butter of the
Right.
business. You know, that's why you have people that need the service. You know, they need something recorded. They don't care about, they're not going to call you tomorrow and ask how your day was. Like, it's just the service. Like, you're just providing what they need, you know, at that point. And a lot of people just need the service. You know, a lot of people just need it mixed and mastered, and, you know, they need a voiceover. They need music for their podcast or their commercial. And I think the one loophole, I guess, is just being able to, like, for businesses, I've been able, like, I know for conversions, like, I made them, like, I made them an entire 1 hour and 30-minute playlist for them to just loop in the co-working space. So, like, I have made custom music for businesses as well. So, like, they'll be like, hey, you know, Edalo, I want, you know, 2 hours worth of custom music that only I can play in my business.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so it's being able to give somebody something custom.
Yeah, it's
one time, one shot thing where it's to them. It's created with soul, and just its purpose is you know, where music, you know, you can buy it online, you can royalty free it.
How much does that cost?
If someone,
like a 2-hour loop.
I mean, if you ask me, probably discounted from somebody else that naturally would hit me up, but it depends on duration time. They paid me. I don't like to talk about prices.
No, I mean, you're good. You're good.
Yeah,
but I was. But it was half kidding.
I mean, if you were to inquire me for like a 2-hour original mix, that would be just yours, all exclusive. Minimum 1,200.
Yeah, it makes sense. Because you know there's so many different playlists on Spotify. Funny we talked about playlists on Spotify already, but where it's just like chill house vibes.
They don't even want to put their stuff. I mean, I can obviously get your stuff put on Spotify as well if that's what you want. But a lot of people don't even. You know, they're just like, I don't want my music out there. Like, I only want people to hear this custom music for like when they walk in the doors.
That's so cool, dude. Because like,
so
there's so many people that play a set playlist where it's just like, I want jazz dinner music, and it's just like a 5-hour playlist on Spotify.
Right.
If you could customize your own
to eliminate Spotify, right? Like, if you didn't need Spotify and you were just coming to me for music to play for, you know, that's
so dope.
I'm trying to cut out the middleman.
Yeah.
You know, like,
that's so cool, dude.
If people, are asking for custom original music, I would rather it be personal. Like, imagine going into H&M or, like, you're shopping at the mall for Christmas and, like, you hear, like, I secretly throw, like, a Buffalo Happy Hour tag and you'd be like, what is this? It's the same as, you'd be like, is this Edalo's track? Like,
yeah, right.
And, like, for me, I would rather play like the ghost in the situation and kind of just have it come to fruition, and because I just love the magic of music. Like, that's why I'm so addicted to it, honestly, and why I still do it over so long, because you can do such wonders with music, and you can do such good with music. And if you do music in a great light, like, it's a lot of fun. Like, you can play secretive a lot of the time.
That opens so many doors too, even for like just private customers.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
If you have your forever home and you got Sonos around your home and you're having a dinner party, and then it's just like, yeah, this is my boy's playlist, and it's like customized to you, and you're just playing that at your house. That's so
cool.
sick.
You want to know something?
I would 1,000% do that.
Yeah, right.
My mom actually has Sonos, right? And like, she goes, I'm not trying to talk about my mom on a podcast.
You're good, bro.
Anybody who
No
has
shame.
anybody who has Sonos, right? Like, you can't get the songs until they're released on Sonos, right? So like, I'll have my family members, my friends, like, just people off of Instagram be like, all right, so when are you dropping the next song? When you, like, I was on Sonos today, like, I was on Spotify, like, where's the new song? I'm like, that's because you didn't, like, keep up with, like, the release date.
Right.
Like, it's not on Sonos yet. Like, it's coming out in 2 weeks.
Sonos has its own platform?
Well, Sonos is, like, literally hooked up to, like, Pandora, Spotify. It's like
really?
It's like a device to, like, play other music. I don't know much on Sonos, but, like, using my mom's Sonos, like, yeah, you can't listen to my new music on because it's not released yet. It's got to be released music that's already out, or, like, handpicked on Pandora. Like, Pandora is only handpicked, curated music. Like, if you're not handpicked by an exec at Pandora, you're not on Pandora.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So if, I mean, hypothetically, in our forever homes, when we have a custom playlist made by you,
Dude, let's
how do
get
we
it.
play that in our house? Does it have to be on Spotify? Like, because my forever house, just so you know,
I'm sure by that time, dude.
I'm gonna have like just Sonos speakers inside the house, so it's gonna be on my phone. Like, my phone's gonna be connected to it, so I'll just Bluetooth or Wi-Fi or whatever, however it can, I don't know, tech terms, and then I'm just gonna blast music like in the shower or around my house. You know what I mean? Like, common areas. So how would you play your own custom playlist inside your forever home if it's not on a platform like Spotify or whatever?
That's a good question.
Like, how would you send it to me so I can throw it up for the boys?
Well, so what I would do is send you the hard copies,
Yeah,
right?
send
so
you an MP3 or something.
or
like
like by that time it would be like what, like
It'd probably be airdrop.
it'd be like a super wave.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, super wave.
By that,
Yeah.
It'll just link through the
I'm
tsunami.
just gonna like ESP it to you, like
It's downloaded to
yeah,
us.
by that time, like what, 2040?
Yeah,
you know?
right.
And like, that's the thing about technology is like, I remember buying CDs, like Newfound Glory CDs and like Blink-182 CDs and
Shout outs.
you know, just my favorite CDs, and like, I'm like questioning myself, like,
Yeah.
do I even make a CD anymore? Like, do I even, like, of course I'm gonna get the cover and back them, but like, you know, like, there's obviously bands that, you know, put out records and
Vinyls,
CDs,
yeah.
but like, people put out like flash drives, like, oh yeah, here's a flash drive, like,
Oh,
what?
really?
Like what? Like
Oh,
that's
cool.
What does Eminem do?
I don't think he does anything.
Yeah, he doesn't
I
do
think
anything anymore.
yeah, I think he's retired at this point. I don't know. I don't keep up with Eminem, honestly. I'm sorry, I can't.
I
answer
would
that.
whatever he does, I wouldn't do. Like, he's the goat.
So, what are your thoughts on Charlie Puth?
Honestly,
I feel like he's like the same person as you, but you're cooler. Like, that's what it comes down to.
well,
Who's
that's
Charlie?
Extremely.
You don't know who
nice.
Charlie Puth is?
No.
He's the, remember in Fast and Furious, it's been a long day without you, my friend?
Oh yeah.
That's him. And he's like a mastermind. He can do no free shout outs, Charlie, but he's pitch perfect. So you can like hit something on there and he'll be like,
Yeah,
A sharp.
he's-
And you're like, what?
Oh, he has perfect pitch.
Yeah,
Pitch perfect. Yeah, it's also called that.
I would.
Pitch Perfect's a fantastic movie that you and I are both obsessed with. But hold on, so I thought, wasn't that song by wasn't Wiz
That was the
on that
feature
song?
on it. Yeah.
So okay, so
but
he was
Charlie
official,
was the
but-
one that wrote it.
Yeah.
And Charlie
Gotcha.
But he
they
writes
contacted Charlie.
He writes a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
and
he's a mastermind,
So
and
he's
he's kind of
he's-
like you. Like
He's a producer.
Yeah, he's a producer. He's everything. He's kind of like you, right?
I appreciate that, dude. That's
Yeah.
that's a big shoe to fill. Charlie Puth.
Yo,
Yeah,
how
I
do you
mean,
know? He might be wearing size 9s, bro.
I mean, hey, if you're listening, Charlie, hit me up. Like, let's work together.
yeah, you got the check mark.
Then again, you got to explain that to me because I don't know how that happened. But I think Charlie, and not only Charlie, but like there's a lot of producers that like make so much music, and they just love making music.
Like
you know?
Ryan Tedder is another one from One Republic. The
Dude,
dude is a mastermind.
All the lead singers will like or the bands of bands will make music for other people, and you'll never know who
Yeah.
made it or created it. And
Because like Beyonce doesn't make her own stuff.
Dude,
It's
she's got,
mostly
like-
Ryan Tedder that writes it for her and then just sends it to her and is like, sing this.
Beyonce's like, you can pick a snare sound, you
Yeah,
can
right.
pick a cymbal sound,
Yeah.
you can,
But then you got dudes like G-Eazy, where have you ever seen his house?
No, never.
His house is sick, but he's got obviously his studio's in his house, huge, and it's completely blacked out, and it's in like the basement, quote unquote, like lower level of his house, and it's his escape. And he goes, I'll be in here for like 1 to 2 weeks, like right before, like leading up to composing an album, and I'm in my space, and then the whole world is shut out. During round 1, we've talked about that, where you just you forget time because you're just so into it. Has that continued, or have you found like a different balance just from now you got like more experience under you, or is it just kind of like the same, I'm just going to ride this wave of where I'm at and then see whatever I produce?
Honestly, I look at things kind of as like whole projects. So like, I'll kind of look at things as like the bigger picture.
Okay.
So I'll be like, okay, like I'll be looking at my Spotify, I'll be like, I could really use an album. Like, like I could really use this. Like, I spend a lot of time just kind of like thinking of the things that would help not only me, but like the project or like the Hurdle Sound Lab or like my clients or like, it's tough being an overthinker, man, because when you're an overthinker, you think about everything twice or 5 times. And, I really think about things when I execute and especially, when it comes to like filters and stuff, like the people that I work with, like sometimes it'll be like, well, I can't complete this. Like, I'm sorry. And I'll just have to have the transparency. But as far as like, having the space to create, I've been really blessed to have a spot in Buffalo, ironically enough, even though I moved to LA and moved away and wanted to, I'm still not one of those people who will like, kind of, oh, like Buffalo's not for me. Like I kind of use the resources that I have to like maximize my outcome, so like the same as like G-Eazy and like being locked in there, like I'll lock the doors to the Hurdle Sound Lab. I'll turn the lights off. And, like, if I pass out, like, head first on the board, like, so be it, But it'll complete me the double album that, like, I'm sitting on now. All my vocals, and being able to kind of create that way is what's more beneficial for me because – I'm not on a timeline for like a label because like I tell myself when I'm going to release things, but I always stay kind of dedicated to the point where I always like know when enough is enough. Like I think a lot of artists, they're like, oh, like they always like pull it back up. They want to like write other words. They want to like do a million things. I think for me, I'm like, this sounds good. All right. On to the next song, on to the next project, and I think that's another point of like, being successful. Like I'm sure G-Eazy doesn't sit in his studio and like think about a snare sound for 5 hours. I'm sure he's like goes in the mic, goes in the booth. And spits hard on the mic. They pick and use different techniques and they know what they're doing. They're not. Looking for like, they're not like grade A1, like looking for like what sounds they want to need. They already have the instrumental done. They already know what they're doing, And I think there's a lot of levels to making music. And I think that's the fun thing about the Hurdle Sound Lab and my job is really being able to adapt from like A to Z of clients. Someone who I can work with, someone who needs a song by tomorrow, finished, completed. Like I'll stay up all night and make sure it's done. Or it's the client that like has no idea what even like a C chord is.
Yeah,
like,
the us of the world.
Yeah. Well, dude, I'm sure we get in the studio for 5 minutes, we'll knock
spit.
something out.
Yeah,
don't even
You
worry.
can sing, I'll beatbox, we'll be good.
We'll spit because we're uneducated on how to be in front of a mic.
Yeah.
That's why we're
True.
spitting.
And I think that's what I've had most fun with. So, honestly.
Yeah. So what is your...
See? We would do good.
Yeah, we would do fine.
Seriously.
So
It would be it would literally be your artist name would be Buffalo Happy Hour, and you would come in and just rap about podcasts.
There you go. Crushed it.
I mean,
Platinum right there.
Double platinum.
need it for the wall.
Yeah. So what is the thought process behind releasing an album rather than singles? Because you've released multiple singles before.
Well, my idea behind getting verified was actually like I need to work with as many verified artists as possible to see if I get verified. So I was kind of like hitting up all these people to like work together with them and like collaborate with them. And ultimately it came down to press, oddly enough. When I was trying to like pitch my stuff to all these singers and verified artists, it's like it's easier to complete a single and easier to complete the artwork and get it out there. All the artwork that I've made for my collaborations, I've made myself. And it's cool to be in touch with the artist and kind of get it done. Like, hey, I have like a strategy. Like I'll hit someone up and I'll be like, hey, this is what we're going to do. And I'll just kind of, that's why I'm not going to really move forward with too many collaborations moving forward, unless it's like Wiz Khalifa.
Right. Yeah,
or
obviously.
like,
Yeah, how do you say no?
yeah, no, Wiz, if you want to like hit me up to smoke any
I'm sure
day.
he's watching.
Yeah, I'm sure he is. 100%.
We're the reason we got the check mark.
100%.
Wiz and Charlie listening to this episode. This is going to be crazy.
But, like, it's about working with the right collaborations to make your music sound great, because doing the singles, you can get them out faster, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, this is what we're going to do. I tell my artists, we have a deadline, hey, I need it by this time or else no collaboration. I always write up a contract so it's like 50-50 splits just to make sure that there's like no BS.
Sure.
Like when the song comes out, so then like that way I'm protected, they're protected. Makes things easier. And like I just was like I wanted to release a single one every month for like the rest of the year of 2022, just to like give me the hype or the extra oomph, or just to have like my song on their artist profiles on Spotify as well, so like that collaboration really like meshes when you're putting your track on their Spotify and their artist or their fans are coming to your Instagram and liking your stuff. It's a cross contamination of fans and audience. So my main goal was like, okay, I released 10 collaborations, which included professional athletes, queens, NFL Super Bowl champions, just to kind of be like, hey, I want to get my name out there even more so, just to a year, this coming year, be like, all right, I wrote a whole album just for collaborations and now a whole album just for me.
Yeah.
So like moving forward, it's like just for me. Like the 2023, I'm literally going to be touring nonstop. My last booking agent was so incredible. I was able I'm not together with any booking agent, so I'm going to be doing it, free agent.
Oh, okay.
Which is the most exciting thing for me because the ball's in my court. And when you have your own connections and when you have agency lists and you're doing things on your own, things get You ever, like watch Dexter's Laboratory, and he's like,
dude.
Yeah,
he's
right.
like, I've shared a lot, and I'm very blessed to like have shared everything that I have. But for 2023, it's more of those like
Sure.
moments for me because I have what I need to succeed.
Yeah.
And so I'm like jumping out of my
Mhm.
skin because I'm just like so excited for
Yeah.
like what's coming.
I want to talk to you about 2023 in a second, but while we're talking about collaborations, you have a collaboration out there called Howling at the Moon. Can you talk about that? Because I feel like that's the one that I've heard most of because everybody's been sharing it and it's over 400,000 downloads on Spotify. So like talk about that collaboration.
It's definitely going to be I will drink I will literally pour up another one. Just to say honestly, it's going to hit 1 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes up like crazy. And
Is that when you've noticed?
And then doesn't, and then goes up like crazy, and
Yeah.
then doesn't. And that's sustainability. I think.
Mhm.
Being able to, and it's literally just from the playlists.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like it'll spike up in the middle of the night, and I'll wake up to my Spotify, and I'll be like, okay, cool. Like I just got 20,000 streams on Howlin' at the Moon, but Howlin' at the Moon was created by yours truly, featuring Andrea Vaughn. Super cool person. Vocals were awesome. RJ DeMarco was on saxophone. He's in Fernway. Fernway is an awesome local band, and they kill it too. And I love working with RJ. He's like the saxophone player on all my music. But as you know, I like to work together with like one other person for like my project. So like regardless of what it is, it's me and like, it's just the easiest way to get stuff done. Howlin' at the Moon was one of those songs where it was just kind of like, all right, cool, Dre, like come into the studio and we'll work on this. Never thought that it would hit like it's going to hit like 500,000 probably like next month.
Which is so sick.
It's just cool because it's organic and it's real. And a lot of people who know me know that song. And you always got to have your hits, but you never know which song is going to be like your hit.
That's got to be the tough part because you put so much effort into every one. Like when you saw this one blowing up, did you have any idea?
I think it's just making sure that any blow up.
Sure,
being able to make sure that like any of your music does well is like the hardest part because like the last thing you want to do is like lose friends because you're spamming them on Facebook,
right.
Or like telling them to come to your shows and like bug them. I've honestly lost a lot of friends that way myself, back in like, like obviously high school era
right.
and whatever, but being able just to like, yeah.
Yeah. So
T.I. has talked about that in a song.
Really?
And he, obviously not a sponsor, no free shout-outs, but T.I. literally has it in a song where I'm going to paraphrase the actual lyrics, but he says that his label asks him, hey, release a hit.
Right.
And he responds with, okay, just write me a check for $100,000. Because it's kind of the same thing. It's like you want me to just release a hit. Like that's not how that works. And then that's basically the same thing as me asking you, just cut me a check for a mere $100,000. Like that's not also how that works.
Well,
so
it sounds like a work for hire thing, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, if he's like,
yeah,
cut me a check for. I know J. Cole charges $2,000 per word. And like honestly, that's a pretty damn good deal if you ask me. $2,000 a word. I hope that and the are charged too. You know what I mean?
That's wild.
So like, I mean, you can look it up. And I think J. Cole honestly is an amazing writer. Buffalo has an amazing talent scene. There are people here that you would never know, and why I came back from Los Angeles just to work with people from Buffalo. There's a lot of people here with talent. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people here that are like really great at singing or like really great at drums, really great at piano, but they're like, I'm just gonna like have a kid and like work it, whatever. And like it's being able to capitalize and like wake them up, like be like, hey, like come to the studio, like. That's the magic of it.
I'm recently, funny you say that, I recently met a woman. She, long story, her and I get in a conversation about work. And I was like, what do you do? And she's like, I'm a violinist for the Buffalo Philharmonic.
Oh, that's raw.
That's what I said.
That's raw.
Right? I'm like, what? And she goes, yeah.
What?
And I was like, what? And I couldn't fathom that. I was like, what? So first of all, you're like first chair for the Buffalo Philharmonic.
Wow.
Like, why? How? Like, why aren't you in like...
I hope she's at least making 30, 40K minimum.
Right.
I'm like,
Yeah,
what?
like, if she's making anything less, I'd be very disappointed.
Yeah.
She had this like beautiful... Dude, her house was like this normal suburban, like Tonawanda home, like real chill. You would never know. And the only reason it came up in conversation was because I was talking to her husband. He's a cop. And then she's downstairs ripping.
Dude.
And it was just practice. And she was just hanging out. And I was like, hold on. Like, what do you... You're really good. And she's like, thanks. And then after
Right,
like...
she shrugged it off like it was nothing.
correct.
Like,
Like,
yeah,
10
like I'm a professional. Like,
yeah,
what,
like
whatever.
10, 15 minutes later, she finally reveals that she's like first chair Buffalo Philharmonic. I'm like, this is fascinating. And I was talking to her. I was like, did you go anywhere for music? Like, did you leave Buffalo or whatever? And it was this long-winded conversation. Like, same thing. California, Colorado, came back, like, lived her life. She goes, we're good. Like, I wanted to raise my family in Buffalo, and, like, I got a really good gig with BPO, and, like,
That's
I can do the
amazing.
holiday show, and, like,
I mean,
whatever.
what a blessing, really.
Yeah.
Like,
And I'm like, dude, so you could literally go anywhere you want, and you decide that you want to perform 7 shows in December at Kleinhand's for Christmas. You know, like, it's just
Seriously.
fascinating, man. And like, they're hidden talents, and she's just downstairs, just yeah. And there's like
Lindsay
horsehair.
Sterling it up.
Yeah, there's horsehair all over the place. I'm like, what is going on? She's like, oh yeah, it's just my thing. I'm like, I can't. Like, it's fascinating.
Well, I mean, it's not only that, but like some of the singers that I've even, been blessed to work with, like, hey, I'm just blessed to call this my job and to have a studio and to like, like I was playing drums at 2-3 years old. Like, little me would have been like, great job, Big Ange, like
Big Ange.
yeah, like, hopefully one day Grandpa Ange, but
Right.
we'll take that as it comes. Nothing fast. But it's that's what makes life so great. For me anyways. And because like for that lady, she probably went to like Fredonia,
Right. Yeah. Right.
she probably studied violin at like all through college, and her mom was probably like, you aren't going out until like the Mozart number 5.
Yeah.
So she was and like that, like those are the musicians anywhere, not only in Buffalo, that like that's the art that like gets overlooked for me. And I'm like, there's so much greatness that's like around us every day, and I think that a lot of people overlook their own greatness. And being able to see other people's greatness and like remind them, like I know you want to have a kid, and I know you want to like give up your music career, but I think that's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
Like, just telling people, like, even if they like hate you for it, like I may not. I'm sure there's a few people out there that are like, Angelo, blah blah blah. I always have the best intention.
Yeah.
And if you have the best intention and you really just put out as much good as you can, it'll always come back to you.
Yeah.
And I've just always kept that mentality, and you grow and you change, and I think that's the beauty of being able to like still live every day, and like music is like the essence of that, so.
Yeah. When you first started, did you ever have imposter syndrome or anything where you're putting out music at first and you're like, is anybody listening to this? Am I good? Am I wasting my
nobody
time?
really listens to me anyways.
Dude, you have
Somebody still has
17,000
it.
monthly
I'm just
listeners.
kidding.
Everyone listens to you. But like, did you ever have that?
What, like my grandma and my mom listen to me.
It's just always on. Put the phone away.
Angelo got a new song. I gotta send it to Auntie Ann. No. It's really cool once you get to that point.
Mhm.
Because when you start putting out music and you start releasing it, and nobody cares and nobody listens to it, and then people actually start, giving a shit, it's
Mhm.
like, whoa. Like, it's not really imposter syndrome. It's like, it actually worked.
Yeah.
Like, people used to, I used to lose friends over, people that I used to invite. Hey, come to my show. They thought I was nuts.
Right.
People still think I'm nuts. And, like, that's fine. Like, if you think I'm nuts, like, at least I'm doing something right.
Yeah. Well,
You know?
it's
Right.
funny because we just talked with another podcast that we were on about how it seems like people locally don't really necessarily want to see your success. Like, that kind of sounds
They
harsh.
don't. Nobody wants to see someone better than you. Like, I want to see Buffalo Happy Hour succeed with, like, 1 million subscribers. I don't give a fuck. I'm sorry, you can bleep that out. I don't give a fuck about other people's success. I want them to do well. Like, I'm not one of those people that, like, are, like, trolling you. Like,
Right.
no, like, I love you. Like I have more love for people than like jealousy or hate. Like, I don't give a fuck what you're doing. Like, I don't care
Yeah.
that, like, my life is my life and your life is your life. And, like, I feel like in music there's a lot of jealousy. There's a lot of
Competition. And, like,
yeah,
if you're doing
and,
well, I'm not doing
dude,
well. But it's not the case.
Brother, I cannot explain to you how much animosity and hostility there is in these artists that it's like, why? Like, why? What makes you so
Toxic
mean?
and vile.
Mean.
Right.
Just for what reason?
Yeah.
And especially when you're going above and beyond and you're, like, paying $500 to get their stuff done, $1,000 to get their stuff out, copywriting, just making sure that things are legit, and people don't give a shit about you.
Yeah.
People don't care about you. They want their dough. They want their, like, check. And I think that's what brings me to my roots, being from Buffalo. I'm not super busy at the Sound Lab all the time, and I love that because I don't have to, like, pay for studio time anywhere else. Anything that you hear from me, I made or I recorded outside with, like, a mic, or I
sick.
recorded myself. Like, like, I collect thousands and thousands and thousands of sounds, and I have, and it's like that takes years, and, like, if you are, like, an artist, right? Like, you got to make sure that you have every shade of paint before you, like, paint your canvas.
That's so sick.
But, like, for me, I try to separate myself and my art by not putting my beliefs on others and not putting politics or, like, telling somebody what to believe, or, like, I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah.
If you want to listen to it, great. If you don't, I don't fucking care.
Yeah.
'Cause
So have you had now people come back that, like, removed you as a friend on Facebook a while ago because you were spamming them up or whatever to come to my show, and now they're coming back to be like, oh yeah,
no,
I know him.
It's usually, I'm sure that happens behind the scenes.
Sure.
I'm sure there's a lot of them that are like,
It does.
oh, he's verified now.
Yeah, right.
I knew that he was always crazy. You know what I mean? I'm sure.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if you're listening, like, hey, hit me up. We're still friends.
Yeah, right.
Like, I never hold a grudge. Like, honestly, that's the thing. A lot of people who do music, they don't do music for the right reasons. They do it to, like, make $1 million. And not
Because
only
you're
that,
not doing it because you're
if
passionate.
you're owning your own label, if you're owning your masters, you're owning your studio, you own yourself, right? You don't have to pay back anybody. There's no middleman. You can tour. You can pay who you want to pay, not because you need to pay them, and it's a success. It's a win-win, and everybody wins.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's how I work. And anyone who works with me knows that I will always go above and beyond for anyone that I work with, because I don't care about, like, them beating me in success.
Right.
I want to help people be, if you're more successful than me and I helped you become more successful than me, that is
you win.
that's my sole purpose.
Right.
Like,
Right.
that is why I'm on this planet. That's, like, why I'm alive. That's, like, why I was born. Like, I'm sorry. Like, that's my job. Like, that's, whether you pay me for that or not, I still, you know, when I'm at the Golden Gates and they're like, Angelo, you know, they're looking at, you did some bad. What about March? Let's not talk about, you know. You can still, it's all about, you know, just really having the better good of helping somebody out.
Yeah,
know,
maintain
changing
the high
their
ground.
life.
Yeah, maintain the high ground. I mean, you're having fun.
Dude,
Right.
it's I'm blessed literally just to even call it my job, you know, like everybody's stressed out, you know, for the holidays and, you know, with money and I get it. Like everybody wants to be famous. I don't want to be famous. I didn't even, you know, the blue check mark is great. It really is. But it's really just to help me do my job.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing else.
Right.
It's not for clout. I don't really give a shit about clout. If you enjoy my music, thank you for listening to me. I really appreciate it. You know, but I'm really just an introverted guy locked in my studio.
Yeah.
My music is my life. And, you know, if you respect me because of that, you know, we can obviously be friends.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, rock and roll.
yeah, dude. And, you know,
So 2022 is the year of collaborations. 2023 is the year of Angelo.
dude,
so
2022 was hard.
Yeah. So tell me about 2023. What's coming down? When is your
It's
tour going to be
selfish year
announced?
on 2023.
Nah, screw
I'm
that,
sorry,
dude. It's a professional growth year.
It is,
Yeah.
though.
It's not a
it-
selfish year. It's a professional
thank you.
growth year.
Appreciate that.
So when's
Gotcha.
the album coming out, and when can people expect tour dates? Do you have that buttoned down yet, or no?
So yes, I
Okay.
do actually.
Yes. Let me
Actually,
grab my platter.
Wait, let me just grab. We are on Buffalo Happy Hours. So
Yes.
let
Hell
me
yeah.
just
Happy
go
hour.
for my third one. Well, like I mentioned, I'm a free agent. I'm sitting on about. I hope my old booking agent isn't watching. He probably won't. But I'm sitting on about like 4,000 venue contacts nationwide. When I
Jesus.
left my old booking agent, I was like, hey, he decided he wanted to only do local shows. And I said, that's totally fine. But dude, I was devastated. My fucking heart dropped. I was like, what the fuck am I going to do? I lost my manager. I don't have a manager. I don't need a manager. I can manage myself. It's just one of those things where I was like, hey, can you hook me up with the agency contact lists? And yeah, he was my buddy. I went to college with him. He's a great guy. And yeah, he sent me the contact list, and I'm just gonna book it myself. I ended up signing to a new booking agent as well, but it's non-exclusive, which means I can book shows on my own.
Oh, cool.
In addition to having a booking agent. So like this year, I'm just like gung ho. Like I kind of played a handful of shows in 2022. I did like 12 headlining shows in 2021, which was from New York to Florida. That was amazing. Got me a lot of fans and a lot of connects and a lot of great people I met on the road. But 2023 is literally, oh man.
Like nationwide?
Let's just say that, weekenders, one-off shows, just international tours, just
Oh, jeez.
being able to just have your connections for like what you want to use it for. Just excited to have a lot of fun.
Is there any, not giving away any details, but is there going to be anything within a radius that we can drive to?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
I'll
cool.
definitely do a Buffalo album release.
Let us know, dude.
Yeah, you guys are getting free tickets. VIP.
You don't
I
want
mean,
free tickets.
we want to support you,
No,
but
you
let
guys
us
will
know.
Support
be,
the boy.
You guys will be in the back drinking whiskey with
Hell
me.
yeah, let's go,
Green
bro.
room style.
Let's go.
So don't even.
I don't. Literally, we just want to help
I mean,
support you.
I know this is a blue room, but we'll be in the green room.
That's
I
what
love
I'm
it.
talking about.
No, but honestly, hey, I think Buffalo shows are the most nerve-wracking because I put so much into them.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, like I literally will spend the money on the lights, on the venue. Like you have to pay for everything. Being an independent artist, like what you see is what I pay for, essentially.
Wow.
Right?
That's crazy.
Like that's how it works. Like, and it's easier to essentially do these like tours where I'm breaking even. So like every tour that I've ever went on, I was able to either break even or make money on. And as like an independent artist,
That's huge.
you can't even say that. So like, I'm just blessed to perform in my own hometown as well as, nationwide. So yeah, like the contact list is literally like Canada, like all over the United States.
That's sick.
The United States is my baby per se. Like
Yeah.
I
hell yeah.
yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, hell yeah.
You know, a lot of these artists a lot of these artists are like, taking off in like, other countries and stuff, but I'm taking the risk to really just tour around America and separating myself as, not like a local artist necessarily per se, but just being a national artist. There's a lot of amazing places in America to play. Like,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
like Buffalo is amazing. I've been, I've headlined Club Infinity back in Williamsville. Now that it's like Howdy's,
Yeah. Right.
the country like knee slapping bar that it is. I probably will never play there again.
You headlined Mohawk Place.
Mohawk Place, like, it's like the Trough is legendary. It is. Once you play, like, I mean, even Rip. Extreme Wheels.
Oh yeah, Extreme Wheels was
like,
sick.
To see these venues in Buffalo that are like taken up and then torn down, I'm sorry, it trips me out.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like it.
Yeah.
Like those. I wish there was more venues in Buffalo that we had. Like, there are a lot of sick venues like in Washington and that'll be like double stacked, and I'll be like, yo, it'd be awesome to bring that back to Buffalo. Like this. Just
Yeah.
I wish there were more. Venues in Buffalo per se.
How do you choose supporting cast or like supporting artists that you're headlining and you want somebody to kind of set the stage for you?
Out of town or in town?
Both. It's different?
Well, hold on.
It is different.
Yeah.
Hold on. So
it's very different.
So the headliner picks who opens for them?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Is that like
Yeah.
even in like the metal
That's
scene?
Oh, yeah.
Like that's how
Every
it works?
scene. Yeah, like every big concert, any music business thing, they'll ask the headliner who to approve. Like, depending on booking agent.
Because it has to fit the
and
vibe.
what's in contract.
Yeah.
Bro, I didn't know that.
Dude, it's
yeah.
literally, I'm telling you, everything is in contracts. Like, everything is to the T and already written up for you. Like, it's crazy. Like,
Yeah.
it's so tied together. It's so tied together. And so, like, everything is already approved and in writing.
So basically, your openers are your friends.
If you want them to.
Yeah, that's
You know,
great.
yeah.
But you have to
and that's
think,
how
too,
you
because
that's how you make
openers-
friends. That's
So-
crazy.
Openers have to try to sell tickets too.
Yeah.
So like that's the
Well,
thing.
that's the thing about being like a smaller artist, because you want to hit up like, Metallica and like open up, Ice Nine Kills is from Rochester, right? They opened up for Metallica at the Key Bank Center. If they even call it the Key Bank Center anymore.
Yeah.
I don't even know. But yeah, it's like knowing who books those shows, knowing someone in the band, or like getting your way in somehow with booking or promoting with that. Like, obviously arena tours are way different than just like playing at like Mohawk Place, because it like costs $200 to $400 and you can just book it out for the night.
Right.
But like that, the real secret is in booking agents and in promoters, because if you get asked by a certain booking agent or promoter, hey, come play Red Rocks with so and so, they asked you to come and open up. Like, if Grizz ever was like, hey, Angelo, like, I need someone to come open up with me, I would do it in a heartbeat. And I think it's about working together with those verified artists and reaching out to them and being like, hey, I need a tour with you. Let's set up a tour. Let's get these dates set up. And that's why it's like having your connections in line and having like that list, or just having the things that you need already there for you, because then you'll need it when you need to use it. Like, there are so many things, like, if you don't have that list, or like you don't have that referral or whatever, you won't have that show. You won't have that opportunity. So it's like, yes, it's about like maintaining good relationships, but it's also just about making sure that like you're not cutting yourself short either, because you know, you don't have to play every gig. Like, being an artist, you think that you have to play, like, everything. You think that you have to be, like, this incredible. But it's like, no, like, you have to know your self-worth as an artist
Right.
and, like, what you're doing. And that all, I think, goes to the wayside when it comes to, like, certain people because they cut themselves short.
Mhm. I'm so excited for this tour. It's going to be so sick.
Honestly, dude, you know, I've been very, very blessed. And I'm super grateful. And I think it's just literally, dude, I failed like literally a million times. And I'm not even going to lie to you. You know, like, I went to school for psychology. I never got trained in music.
Mhm.
This is just something I love to do. And it's just always been a passion. Over the course of my years, I learned that if I don't follow my passion in this, I'm not going to be really good at anything else. So I learned that I had to kind of be vulnerable and transparent in that way. And that is what led me to, you know, yeah, it's cool to be verified, but it doesn't mean shit. You know, it just helps you do your job, you know, and like I said, for me, I love my job. Like, and I say it's a job because, like, I can't really relax. Like, I can't take myself out of my job. And my
Right.
girlfriend and, like, my family know that about me, that how addicted I am to my job. And sometimes I have to say, like, hey, like, stop texting people. Stop being on your phone. Stop on Instagram. Like, take the time out for yourself, because a lot of the time I'm so lost in the sauce. Like, I'm so in it to win it all the fucking time that it's like I'm losing myself
Yeah.
in it, and that's a very important thing, you know. And for me,
What's more difficult, I think, with you specifically is because you are so into it that you are the person answering any DMs that come through. Like, you're managing your Instagram, your Facebook, and you're just like, if you don't take that time away to relax,
oh yeah,
you're gonna go crazy.
I definitely am. It kind of it's great and it's wonderful and it's awful and it sucks.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Mhm.
I love it so much that it kills me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, they say, like, oh, like, love something until you die.
Right.
Like, I think that's pretty extreme, but, like, that's pretty much my life. You know, like, that's, you know, having friends and having people come out to your shows, and it's a very fine line once fame and money and all that comes into play. And honestly, if I get even bigger after this interview,
Which you will, obviously.
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
History repeats itself, bro.
Hey, cheers, brother. Thanks for having me on. You know, I just hope that, you know, that's the one message that I can convey is just, you know, you really gotta stay true to yourself.
Mhm.
You know, I've been saying that from day one.
So where can people find information around on like where your stuff's coming out? Like, do you post it directly to your social media? Can you put in your handles and spell Edalo for the people that don't know?
Yeah, sure. You can look me up at Edalo Music on Instagram, EDALO Music. You can reach out to my personal Facebook if you're really a stalker. Angelo Edalo is my Facebook. But if you just want to be a fan, which I would greatly appreciate, you can check me out on iHeart, Pandora, Spotify, Apple Music under Edalo, which is EDALO, which is, like I said, my middle name. So,
Dude, I'm so proud of you. I'm so excited to see 2023 and what this brings.
hey,
because
man, nothing but on the road and tours, man. We're trying to get this show on the
Can't
road,
wait.
or I am. I'm not trying to be locked in my studio or at home anymore.
this is the year for Edalo.
It's just about meeting you. So, hey, I can't wait to meet you.
Let us know what we can do to help you out, too.
Hey, thanks for having me here, and thanks for being great friends.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody. And Angelo, it's always a pleasure.
Hey, thanks so much, man. I really appreciate you.